وخلق الحب وزرعه فينا علشان نساعد بعض. ما يهمنيش لونك ولا شكلك، يهمني انك انسان. مد ايدك عشان اساعدك، ساعدني انت كمان. يوم بيوم حلمنا بيتحقق، حلمنا اللي كان صغير. يوم بيوم كلنا بنصدق اننا نقدر نغير. يوم بيوم حلمنا بيتحقق، حلمنا اللي كان صغير. يوم بيوم كلنا بنصدق إننا نقدر نغير.
Welcome back. You're still watching Nile Cruise, and of course spring is in the air, and it's once again time for India by the Nile Festival. The festival program is an alluring mix of cinema, music, dance, literature, cartoons, cuisine, tea tastings, workshops and much more. The festival on the scale of India by the Nile is much more than a program of the events. It seeks to be creating encounters, forge partnerships and encourage friendships that will be enduring. The festival exists because of the professional excellence of teamwork, arts, the support from the Indian Council of Cultural Relations, Egypt's Ministry of Culture and the Ministry of Tourism and the Cairo Opera House. It is set to be beginning on the 1st of April and will be lasting for 20 days. And here to be talking to us more about the festival is Abu George, the Media Counsel of the Indian Embassy in Egypt. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you very much for being with us today on my cruise. We'll be talking to us more about the India by the Nile Festival. How did the idea came up?
Well, the idea behind India by the Nile, it was initially promoted by the ambassador, His Excellency Navdeep Suri.
Yes.
And it came out of the notion that the relationships between India and Egypt date back to many centuries, that there is a very strong and old relationship between India and Egypt, and that kind of an old relationship then blossomed into the friendship that existed between President Gamal Abdel Nasser and Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru.
Yes.
And the non-aligned movement, and it then transformed into many cultural connections. I know that many Egyptians today love Bollywood, love Indian culture. So the India by the Nile Festival was a kind of a reaffirmation of the kind of cultural relations that exist between India and Egypt. And the effort really was to show that India has incredible diversity in its cultural traditions, that it is not just Bollywood, while so Bollywood is an important part of the entire exercise of cultural promotion.
Yes.
But definitely there is a classical music tradition, there is a classical dance tradition, there are handicrafts, there are writers who write and talk and discuss current contemporary topics. There is of course beautiful artworks. So all of this was attempted to be brought for the first time last year in India by the Nile, the first edition. And when we saw the kind of response that India by the Nile, the first edition last year got, the kind of tremendous response, there was a Bollywood fusion at the Opera House,
Yes.
there was a calligraphy exhibition, there was an Odissi, which is an Indian traditional or Indian classical dance. And all of this got some tremendous responses here in Alexandria. So we decided that this definitely must be an annual event.
Yes.
And as spring comes, therefore, as time of renewal, a time of change, and therefore
Yes.
India by the Nile is back.
So what is different about the second edition of the India by the Nile Festival?
Well, of course, anything that is done for a second time or once again has to be bigger and better, and that's why we are doing this really on a big scale. If you look at our entire program, our full program is available on our Facebook Indian Embassy Cairo Facebook page, on indiabythenile.com. We have almost 13 to 14 different events lined up.
Yes.
And these range from the big opening, which is the Bollywood musical, which is happening at the Opera House, the Cairo Opera House, on the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th and the 6th. And then again in Alexandria on the 10th and the 11th, and then even in Hurghada on the 15th.
Yes.
So 35 Indian dancers are coming in. This is going to be as if Bollywood, the Bollywood film is there
Yes.
with you on stage.
Yes.
And there's going to be Bollywood music and beautifully choreographed dancing and the entire works. So that's the big thing about going to be about this year's festival.
Yes.
And then in addition to that, we have classical. We have a dance form called Kathak, which is from the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, where Kathak in Sanskrit means storytelling, or stories told through the dance form.
Yes.
Yes. So this is why, and we are bringing Kathak, and we are having a beautiful exhibition of saris. As you know, sari is the traditional dress that is worn by Indian ladies.
Yes.
And there's even going to be an opportunity for Egyptian ladies to go and try on the sari and see how you wear it.
Yes.
It's actually just one garment, 6 yards
Of course,
long.
it is characterized by the beautiful colors and the cheerful colors of them. as well.
Absolutely. And the textiles are very different depending on which part of the country you're from. The way, the kind of designs that are imprinted on the sari, the material from which it is made, even the way it is worn.
So whenever I see a woman dressed in a particular sari, I know that this woman is from this particular place in India or region in India.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, and that's why every place has its own tradition of saris, even the own tradition of sari wearing. And especially I want to talk a little bit about the sari because the entire exhibition of saris is also part of an important theme of this year's festival, which is the woman of substance. I mean, this is to recognize that Indian women have played an important role, and not just Indian women, but both Egyptian and Indian women have a very important role in our societies. We both are developing countries. We both face similar challenges, and therefore to recognize and to acknowledge the deep contributions that women have made, and so this is part of that. We, in addition to that, we are having a Indian actress called Shabana Azmi.
Yes.
She's a very famous actress who acted in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Also a social activist. And she's going to be coming and be in conversation with Mr. Samir Farid, who is of course the president of the Cairo International Film Festival.
Yes.
And they're going to be talking about Indian movies. And in addition, we are having an Indian feminist called Urvashi Butalia.
Yes.
And she's going to be coming, and she's going to be in conversation with Dr. Sahar Al-Mugi and talking about women's issues. And so this is a part of the larger theme of woman of substance, which is going to be an important part of this year's festival.
Yes, but if this festival succeeded, and of course it will be succeeding, regarding what you just said about the program of the festival itself, do you think that we can be getting Aishwarya Rai and Shah Rukh Khan in the coming festival?
Well, I will just say inshallah, because the idea is to promote
It's a long
India.
shot, but we really like to see
we hope that certainly both of them big stars. So they will also one day come to Egypt.
They are really popular here as well.
Of course,
as well as Amitabh.
Of course, Amitabh Bachchan is of course the legendary figure here. So just to stay on Bollywood, we are also having a very important another segment, which is Shabana Azmi's husband, Javed Akhtar. He's a very significant poet. He's the composer of many Indian songs, and Indian songs of course are very popular in Egypt.
Yes.
So he's going to be in conversation talking about what is the role of songs in Indian cinema, because when you look at an Indian film, you can't have an Indian film without a song.
And a dance.
Of course, which is going to be there earlier. in fact, we're opening with the dance.
Yes.
We're going to be having the Bollywood dance workshop on the 1st of April, and a trained choreographer from Bollywood, Jules Chuyen, he's going to be doing a dance workshop at the Cairo Opera House complex.
Yes.
So you can just imagine the range and diversity of the different events that are taking place.
Yes, you have spoken about the sari being worn by women in India.
Yeah.
What about men? What do they wear there? Is there a certain costume for them as well?
Sure. Again, I would say the unique thing about the sari is that the sari is worn across the breadth of the country, the length and breadth of the country, because it's a uniquely Indian dress.
Yes.
But men, of course, depending on which part of the country they're from, wear different kinds of dresses. So in North India, you have something known as a salwar and a churdar, which is a long flowing, a bit like the galabiya, but slightly different.
Yes.
And in South India, you have you have just a plain white cloth which is folded around the lower body, and then again shirts and all worn on top. So you have different kinds of textiles depending on the part of the country you're from.
Yes, of course. Regarding the festival as well, will you be presenting the Indian cuisine? Well, it's important, of course, for the Egyptians and the Indians.
I must say that once we've started the publicity for the festival, the most number of calls we've of course been receiving are about the food festival.
Yes.
And the food festival is taking place from the 14th to the 19th of April at the Semiramis Intercontinental Hotel.
Here in Cairo.
Yeah, here in Cairo, and that's going to be, of course, big. We are bringing in two
spicy.
Well, we have again different types, but this is going to be North Indian cuisine.
Yes.
And it's going to be done by two very, very distinguished chefs who are being flown in from Delhi.
Yes.
Yeah.
And regarding music and cinema and dances, do you think that there will be a future collaboration between the Egyptian artists and the Indian artists?
No, it's a good thing that you mentioned that particular point, because at every point in the entire festival, we are keen to establish relationships. This is not a festival which is going to just, perform and then leave.
Yes.
The idea is that, between people, between artists, between the people, we establish continuing relations over a long period of time.
Yes.
So, for example, Rajasthan Josh, they are the Rajasthan is a state in Western India, and they're going to be performing their folk music.
Yes.
And they will be doing collaborations with Egyptian artists, even with a rap group, I think Arabian Nights, and they'll be doing collaborations on a regular basis. In addition, we'll be having conversations between Egyptian writers and Indian writers.
Yes.
So the idea is that this builds relationships, this builds partnerships. You can talk about similar issues and similar challenges, because India and Egypt are so similarly placed in a lot of ways.
Yes.
That's really the intention, to build concrete and lasting relationships which will take us not just from the festival but beyond.
Yes, Mr. George, one last question, because we're running out of time. Regarding the relationship that you have just spoken about, tourism is a big and important aspect of both countries regarding the ties between Egypt and India. How do you see the future of tourism between the Egyptians and the Indians?
Yeah, we Indians are very, very keen to travel to Egypt because of the historical connection, and because of the recognition that Egypt has a 7,000-year-old civilization. So a lot of Indians travel to Egypt. I think that your Ministry of Tourism has recently initiated a plan to bring 1 million Indian tourists to Egypt. So this is definitely, that is why we are also collaborating on the festival, to show very clearly that, we feel that there is much to be gained from our relationship, and that the future of the relationship is bright.
Yes, Mr. Abu George, the Media Council of the Indian Embassy in Egypt, thank you very much for being with us today on My Cruise.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and this brings us to the end of this segment. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again with you after this short break.